You think you know who you are? You have a name, a voice, a history. You carry memories, beliefs, and preferences. You have dreams, fears, and habits. You believe you are the one making decisions, reacting to events, shaping your future. But what if that entire structure, that sense of you, is an illusion? What if your identity isn't a core essence, but a constantly shifting narrative? What if your sense of self is not a fixed entity, but a process? A trick of the brain designed for survival, not truth. Let's begin with what seems undeniable. You are you. But neuroscience, philosophy, and psychology are all converging on a single disturbing possibility: that the self is not a thing, but a story. A looping hallucination created by the brain to hold itself together. You are a narrator, but also the story. A character written on the fly. A voiceover with no speaker. Let's dig into how that illusion is formed and how fragile it truly is. Every morning when you wake up, your brain begins reassembling the idea of you. You remember your name, your past, your preferences. You slip back into your habits. But none of these are fixed. They are reloaded, reconstructed, and in many cases, reimagined. Your identity is scaffolded by memory, but memory we now know is not a recording. It's a reconstruction. Each time you remember something, your brain rebuilds it. It fills in gaps. It smooths inconsistencies. It edits the past in real time. And each time you do this, the memory becomes less accurate, not more. It becomes a copy of a copy. A story retold so often, it becomes legend. Your childhood home? Likely different than you recall. Your high school friends' laugh? Probably a blend of sound and imagination. Your greatest heartbreak? Now a scene, edited for emotional clarity. And what about the future? That too is a construct. Your brain constantly simulates possible outcomes. What will happen if I say this? Do that? Turn left instead of right? These aren't real futures. They are guesses, predictions, they're hallucinations, just like memory. And yet, those hallucinations control your behavior. They shape your mood. They determine your identity. You fear the imagined loss. You crave the imagined reward. So the past is a guess. The future is a simulation. And the present? It's already gone. Studies show that conscious awareness lags behind reality by roughly half a second. Your brain receives data, processes it, makes a decision, and only then tells you a story about what you just did. You move. And then you believe you chose to move. You speak. And then you think, I decided to say that. But the data says otherwise. The sense of agency is a shadow, a justification after the fact. And this is where it gets truly strange. In studies with patients who have had their corpus callosum severed, the thick band of nerves connecting the left and right hemispheres of the brain, we find something astonishing. Each hemisphere begins to operate independently. When asked questions, each half gives different answers. One believes in God, the other is atheist. One feels pain, the other does not. So which one is you? When one hand buttons a shirt and the other unbuttons it, which hand belongs to the real you? The uncomfortable truth is this: there may never have been a singular you at all. You are not a captain in the cockpit. You are a ship with many decks, many voices, many impulses, most of which never reach awareness. And what about the inner voice? That running monologue you hear when you're thinking, deciding, reflecting. It feels central to who you are. But neuroscience suggests it's more of a commentator than a commander. It narrates what you're doing, but it doesn't decide. When you reach for a glass of water, your brain initiates the movement before you're even aware of it. Then the inner voice says, I was thirsty. That's not agency, that's rationalization. So what is the self? if it's not memory, not future plans, not the inner narrator, not even unified control? What's left? Some philosophers suggest the self is a useful fiction, a user interface, a simplification your brain uses to manage an incomprehensibly complex set of processes. Others say the self is a pattern, like a tornado or a whirlpool. It exists not as a thing, but as a process, constantly changing, never stable. You are not the water, but the motion. You are not a thing. You are a happening. And this idea is echoed in ancient traditions. Buddhist philosophy speaks of anatta, the doctrine of no self. It teaches that clinging to a fixed identity is the root of suffering, because the self is impermanent, illusory. In Hindu Vedanta, the ego is described as a mask, a role in a cosmic play. The true self, Atman, is said to be not individual, but universal, a single awareness pretending to be many. And today, Western science is finally catching up. Cognitive scientist Anil Seth describes consciousness as a controlled hallucination. Your experience of reality is not reality itself, but a best-guess model built by your brain, and the self is the center of that model. It is the map, not the terrain, and maps are useful, but they are not real. So if your memories are stories, your decisions are rationalizations, your thoughts are post hoc scripts, and your consciousness is lagging behind reality. Where are you? Are you a pattern? Are you a loop? Are you an algorithm running on flesh? Or are you something deeper, an awareness observing the illusion unfold? Because here's the real paradox. If the self is an illusion, who is experiencing the illusion? If you are a story, who's listening to the story? Is there a witness, a stillness behind the motion, a screen on which all thoughts, memories, identities, and sensations appear and disappear? And if so, is that the real you? Or is even that another trick? You begin to see why mystics and scientists alike describe this inquiry as both profound and destabilizing. Because if there is no solid self, then what suffers? What loves? What dies? Is it possible that consciousness is not personal at all? That you are not an individual but a field of awareness wearing a mask? Not a drop in the ocean, but the ocean pretending to be a drop. And if that's true, if the self is not a thing, but a theater, then the stage, the lights, the audience, and the actor are all one. So the next time you say, I pause, ask yourself, who is speaking? Who is watching the thoughts arise? Who is hearing this voice right now? You may not find an answer, but you might find a silence, and in that silence, something else might speak, something that isn't trying to be you, something that simply is, and maybe, just maybe, that's closer to the truth than anything you've ever called me.